What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Beyond the Schmoedown. I'm Star Wars competitor Andrew Dimalanta.
And I'm Schmoedown competitor wife Nicki Dimalanta.
Don't cut me off. And we are speaking to you from the past, or I don't know. Maybe the past. Speaking to the future?
Yes.
Yes, because we're recording this episode well in advance. Because usually, the time we would have been recording this. For this episode, we will be in LA attending the Schmoedown Awards and Draft. What?
Yes. You didn't have a stroke while I was saying that.
Yeah, I know. Like every time I do something like that, I'm like, oh, well. But yeah, so this episode, we're still in the off season at this point. Probably there's a lot to talk about, upcoming season, but we want to keep this a shorter episode because again, this is a pre-tape. They're all pre-tapes, but this one's well in advance anyways. But before we get into that, because we're going to talk about our favorite competitors, our favorite heels, and all that stuff, but I wanted to sort of rewind a bit and talk about how we both got into the show, because my experience with the Schmoedown as a fan dates way back to when they first started, because I'm a long-time fan of Schmo's No Show. They started it there. I didn't watch it as hardcore as I do now. I was like, oh, this is fun, this movie trivia. But I really got into it when Collider picked it up. That's when I really got into it. And I remember you sitting next to me or on my computer or on my phone or something. And you're like, what the hell?
Well, that gets into my story of how I started. Do you have more to your story first?
No, that's it. I mean, that's the end of my story. I've just been a fan from the beginning.
Well, yeah, I don't remember exactly when. I'm so jealous of people that are like, my first match was JTE and something. I don't remember the first match I watched, so I'm pretty jealous of people that do remember that moment.
Yeah.
But I just remember Andrew's watched it since the AMC days and whatever.
Yeah.
And
I think it was before the AMC days.
Well,
I could be wrong. I don't know when the dates. It all I've been a fan of everybody on the channels, from AMC, Schmoes Know to Collider to SDN. I've all that just bleeds together now. I have no idea timelines.
Well, I just remember that Andrew was probably watching Schmoedowns, and I was on the couch. This was before we had a kid. Well, before we had a kid, so it was in the days that we could just sit on the couch and just
watch whatever.
Relax.
not have to watch Puppy Dog Pals or Daniel Tiger.
Like, no, put that down. Get that out of your mouth. No, stop. So he probably had Chromecasted on the TV. I kind of just had a stroke. He probably had it Chromecasted on the TV or whatever. And I was probably doing some shit on my phone and watching it, out of the corner of my eye. But I don't remember what the first match that I saw was, but I do remember one of the first personalities that I saw. And one of the first personalities I saw was not during a match. It was probably one of my earliest Schmoedown memories, and it was like a post-match interview or whatever. And it was Robert Meyer Burnett, and he was wearing that fucking jacket that he always wears that I don't even know what the print is on it.
I don't know.
And he was just yelling and freaking out, into a microphone. And I'm just sitting there and I'm out of the corner of my eye. I'm just like, what the fuck are you watching? What's happening on the TV right now? Because he'd be watching it every so often. I'd hear, a question about a movie, and if it was a movie that I'd seen, because it's like a running joke with Andrew and his friends and everything that I don't see many movies. And I guess
the movies that you think somebody would have seen.
Guess what? Probably I have not.
Seen it, yeah. So, there's a list of movies she had to watch before we got married.
That is a fact. Yeah. There were prerequisites to our marriage, and it wasn't just from Andrew.
Star Wars was on there. That was my
Star Wars was on there.
Even though I had you watch this before we even got engaged.
Well, yeah. When we were dating, he was like, "You haven't seen Star Wars?" I'm like, "No, there's 80 of them," and at the time there was still only 6. Yeah. Only 6.
7, including the Clone Wars, technically.
I guess, if you count that. But he was like, oh, you got to watch Star Wars, whatever. And so while we were dating, I was like, all right. And he put them on. But then we were engaged, and we were talking to one of his brothers and one of his best friends. And they always joke about how I haven't seen anything. And, I guess it's kind of true. And so it was such bullshit. Andrew, his younger brother, and Andrew's best friend, Eddie, the three of them made a list. I wish I still had these lists. But all three of them made a list of 5 movies.
I can remember 2. The Memento was on there.
Memento was on
Drive
there.
was on there.
Drive was on there.
Even though I remember watching that, and you're like, they should call this movie Stare. And I kind of agree with that because I've watched it once before, and I watched the end with you. I'm like, God, this
just stares at each other.
This is a little more boring than I remember it being.
Yeah, it was super boring. But like Andrew made a list of 5 movies. All 3 of them made a list of 5 movies, and I had to watch. And I don't know what my timeline was.
It was before we got married.
Well, I mean, it was before it was prerequisites, but I just don't remember how much time I had to watch these fucking 15 movies. And I don't even think Star Wars was factored into these 15 movies. No, because
you had watched them before this list came out.
Yeah. But I think you each made 5 movies, but Star Wars also was on top of each of those movies because you were like, oh, you got to watch them again, but pay attention.
Yeah, that was,
And I'm like, fuck, caught me there. Bamboozled, foiled again.
So tangents. Go all the way back to, bring it back to the Schmoedown because we're going on a weird tangent here.
Good point.
Yeah.
So, wow, how did we get there? I should graph this. Man.
Bring it back. Bring it back. It's a Schmoedown podcast.
All right.
Save it for the general podcast when we ever start that.
Wow, I don't even know how we got on that tangent, but yeah. So I remember what it was because every once in a while they'd ask a question of a movie I'd miraculously seen, and I'd be like, oh, I think it's this, and I would be wrong inevitably, but I'd play along to the every so often if it was a movie I'd seen. And so that kind of made me start to kind of pay attention to it here and there. But then I saw Robert Meyer Burnett, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. What the hell is this? I thought this was just people asking questions about movies. What's happening? And I don't know. I guess him just having it on over and over, and me just kind of something piquing my interest.
The characters and starting to learn people's names and their personalities and
because I mean, as a person who wasn't a fan, I wish I could say I was an AMC fan and a Schmoes fan, but I wasn't, unfortunately. I only recently got into YouTube shows in the past couple of years.
It just wasn't your thing. Like we watched YouTube very differently, especially back then.
Yes,
like I followed all the movie talk people and like Star Wars discussions, and we had very different tastes in YouTube.
I never watched YouTube. Back then I looked at YouTube. Well, yeah, but especially back then, because back then I looked at YouTube as a place where you would go to watch a funny video here and there. I didn't watch it as a place to get like full-time content.
Yeah.
And so, luckily, as Andrew kept watching it, it kept on catching my eye every so often. I'd hear something that was familiar to me, and I'd watch it for a couple minutes, and I'd go back to my phone or whatever I was doing. But yeah, I just remember Robert Meyer Burnett just being a fucking crazy person on the
yelling
TV.
Into the microphone.
Yelling into the mic. And I'm like, why is this guy freaking out? They're asking questions about movies.
Yeah. And
What's
I try to explain to you, it's like, this is like wrestling with movie trivia. And you're like, that sounds dumb.
And I don't remember what, I sure did say that. And I'm sorry, Christian, because I am devouring those words now. I'm obsessed. But I don't know what the tipping point was. But at one point, I remember over my maternity leave, I think that's what did it
for you.
Binge watching.
Well, no, you got really into it before you went on leave.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I had a lot more time on my hands when I was on maternity leave.
So you don't remember like the tipping point where like it really like there was one moment that hooked you?
I don't. I'm such a shitter. I wish I remembered.
Hey, man, it doesn't matter, man. It's like
the fact that I'm here, that's all that matters.
The fact that we're talking about this on a podcast, that the Schmoedown is the reason we got into podcasting, and like, we're so into this now. We're like, we're thinking about starting two other ones.
I'm in so deep. There's no turning back. Yeah. But I just remember over my maternity leave, just absolutely putting on the playlist that
watching
was on.
Old matches, Roca versus what is it? Mance won. Stuff like that.
The old ones where I could not believe going back and watching old ones. How
the format
much
is so
it changed.
Different.
Yeah, like round 1 was like, oh, you pick a number and then I go first.
You
and
get
then
the category of questions. Yeah.
Yeah, I just.
Can I just say I love the format the way it is now. It's much more like even.
Yes. Oh no, the format now it kicks the ass of the old format.
It's a lot more fair way of gaining points, especially in the first round.
Yeah, I did not like the old first round, but hey, that's how you evolve your sport.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we got to where we are now, and I'm sure it'll keep evolving, tweaking here and there.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get into the meat of the conversation. So again,
meat.
yeah, because like the episode before this, we talked about the draft and the awards and our stuff like that. So, but I want to just start off like who is like we're gonna talk about like favorites and like personalities and goats and stuff like that. Like who would you say is your favorite player in the entire Schmoedown?
Okay, so favorite player all around.
All around player.
I was, I'm not gonna lie. I asked Andrew, well, what are you gonna ask me when we're recording? Because I don't want to sound like a fucking
pull
idiot.
back the curtain.
It's called Beyond the Schmoedown, behind the curtain of the Schmoedown. But I was like, well, I need to know what questions you're gonna ask me because I'm, like I said in the first episode, I'm very indecisive and I cannot make a decision.
Yeah.
So I need to be able to kind of marinate on this a little bit at least.
Yeah.
So I had 3 people that I could not decide between for my favorite overall player. And I was kind of going between John Roca, Ben Bateman, and Mike Kalinowski.
And who did you decide on?
I think a very tough decision, and I hate making decisions. But I think I have to give it to, as much as I love John. John is amazing. As much as I love John, as much as I love Mike, I think I have to give it to Ben.
Ben Bateman.
Ben Bateman.
What were you like reasons behind that? Because like no heat on that, but like why? What like makes you so like attached to Bateman as your favorite player?
I think it's because, and it wasn't always this way. Like when he first debuted with Team Action,
he's a very different player.
Very different player. But I think now,
it's not just because he holds a title right now, is it?
No,
Bandwagoner.
No, I'm not. No, no, it's because, like I've said this before when we talked about Spectacular, that he's so good at this game, and strategically, not that no one can touch him, but he's so methodical with his gameplay and the way he approaches the game. I really don't think anybody approaches it as uniquely as he does.
I would totally agree with that because I don't think you watched backstage when he was like telling like his like pre-game strategy.
No, I think I missed that.
Yeah, but he was on backstage this past week and he said like his strategy is going in like weakness, because I do this too, like with looking at past matches of the opponent you're about to face and say like weaknesses and strengths and like he would put certain wheel categories and suggest wheel categories on the wheel because of this and that. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but like I remember him talking about that. And I'm like, God, I doubt anybody else looks at wheel slices and just and like and other things too. Like the shit talking is he admitted is part of his game.
And that's part of the reason I love him because it's not just gameplay. It's not just what I know. It's not just the movies I've seen. It's I want to get in the head of my opponent, even if it's not somebody I'm playing right now. I feel like he kind of does it to everybody at every time. I mean, he'll focus on whoever he's going to
but he hopes it bleeds into other matches that...
I mean, he's just got this like confidence about him, this air about him. And disclaimer, not that I'm saying that other people don't have that confidence about them, because Roca definitely has that kind of swagger about him too, that I'd shit my pants if I had to face him in a Movie Trivia Schmoedown match.
Just hearing him talk about it, especially with the drafts coming up and like how he thinks about it strategically, because he's whispering in Dagnito's ear about who to draft, and it's just like you talk to any other competitors, like I don't think anybody else thinks like this. He's taken like playing the game to a whole like new like heights, new levels. Like,
and I think
ridiculous.
It's because of how much he studies players. Like I think he studied people like Roca.
Yeah.
And people, like Merle, and not just because they're in his faction, but people that are just, would be considered the Mount Rushmore people of the Schmoedown. I feel like he's just watched them and studied them and not so much emulated them, but based his game off of elements of people that he's watched in the past.
That's crazy.
But the reason that I picked the 3 of them is because I don't really know that I've seen as much overt passion with other people as I've seen with Bateman, Kalinowski, and Roca. They just have a passion that is unmatched. And they all express it a different way. I don't think I've seen Ben get emotional yet. Maybe he will. I don't know. But you don't need to show emotion just to show that you're passionate. But you've seen Roca and you've seen Mike, and they throw their heart and soul into this game. even though people look at it, oh, it's just a game. It's not.
No.
And it's very evident when you watch them perform. And even though Ben might not show as much emotion as they do, you can see how passionate he is through his gameplay.
Oh yeah.
And
just the way he talks about it, like
it permeates everything he does on his Twitter. When you see him on SEN, when you see him, on backstage in a match, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just too good.
That reason that you said, like, the passion that these players, and that's why I think Roka is my favorite player. Mm-hmm. It's just the pure, like, he wears his emotions on his sleeve.
He's
and
so good.
and like he's one of those players that when those controversial things start to happen, like the real Roka comes out and people are like, oh, he's still in character. Nope, that's just John. That's just John.
The passion.
That's just John. And like there's like that's a huge reason why he's my favorite player. And that match when he beat Merle for the first time for the title, that's one moment that almost, like, a lot of the people watching this say that's when the Schmoedown hooked me. That's when I got into it because of Roka and the passion that he showed, like, after winning that match. And like after winning the team title from Corruption, it's like, how can you doubt this guy doesn't love this game so much?
Can I just interject for a second?
Yeah.
I love when we watch Roka compete. Mm-hmm. And it's something that I don't know, that Andrew and I, or maybe mainly Andrew does every time. Mm-hmm. Like when we were there in Orlando live. Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah.
But like when we inevitably rewatched it because I just wanted to relive it. Yeah. We watched it again, and in that after post-match interview, mm-hmm. Roka's emotional. He's obviously very, moved by what just happened.
Yeah.
He's, tears are coming. He's talking about how he's going to, do his girl when he gets home.
It's a kid's show, Roka. Come on.
Hey man, you got to do what you got to do. Yeah. And but he was just really in the moment and mm-hmm. emotional and everything. But then it's like a switch flipped, and then Andrew will always, whenever we're watching a Roka match, Andrew will always go, oh, there it is. He's going full Roka.
There he is.
And like he went from tearing up and being very emotional to being like, and next time I'm going to do this and fuck these guys. And he just like goes full Roka and just fucking just
every
starts
time,
roasting
man. It's like,
people.
there he is. That's the guy I like.
Full Roka.
And that's another reason why I think Roka is my favorite player, because he encompasses everything the Schmoedown represents. He puts his heart and soul into the gameplay, so he's really into the gameplay. But then he also plays this amazing character that is who I think is the very first character of the entire show.
Yeah, like, absolutely.
It's like you can't. The day that Roka steps away from the Schmoedown is going to be a very sad day for me, because he's given the game everything he has. He's given the show everything he's had, mm-hmm. and people emulate him now. Yeah. Rookies coming in like, I try to like. They try to be the outlaw, and like nobody's going to be the outlaw, but like they kind of model their character or their game after this guy that has been there since the beginning. So he's obviously my favorite player. And when we met in Orlando, I told him that as much, and hopefully we'll have him on a future show.
Sweet.
That'd be great.
So nervous. Oh
he's
my
so
God,
great.
Fangirling over him.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and move on to favorite personality.
Okay.
Favorite personality. I'll go first.
All right.
And I'll say my favorite personality, and one of the things that's great about the Schmoedown is like it isn't just, we don't just follow these people on the Schmoedown; it bleeds into other like shows and stuff. Yeah. And my favorite is Josh McCouga, the Wild Man.
Oh yeah,
Hell yeah! We followed on, watched all the stuff he did on Collider. Now we can't do that anymore. But sore subject. We'll move on really quickly.
Yeah, please.
And obviously. The Afternoons of Josh and Ken, but he's kind of on a hiatus now. So his awesome wife Amanda's taking in for him. God. But like he's just one of those people that like, obviously I'll like Harloff, whatever he does, I'm gonna follow him. Josh is also one of those people, and also Ken is one of those people. But like, and it doesn't matter what the score is at the end of what. You looked at me at something.
What? Go on.
Distracting me. But yeah, so it doesn't matter like what the score is at the end of the match. It's a fun match because of McCouga. Anytime he guesses a question right, it's hilarious. He's such a great personality, and like he hasn't been a part of the Schmoedown as much.
Not as much as I'd like him to be.
And I think it's because of his new job.
He's a busy boy.
He's busy. But I really want to see more of him because he's such a fun personality, and like you said, he's your favorite Collider personality to watch. So
if Josh is in it, I'm watching it.
If he's on any show, he makes the show immediately interesting and fun.
Like, wasn't he on Jedi Council? Like, what the
Yeah, he was
hell?
on Jedi Council like very briefly. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm
like, yeah, okay, I'll watch Josh do that.
Yeah, so it's just this for the pure fun of it. If you want a fun match, and I think that's kind of a person you would show somebody that has no interest in movie trivia or the story aspect or the showmanship of the show. If you just want to like watch a Schmoedown with somebody who has no idea what the Schmoedown is, put a Josh McCougar match on.
Or Wild Berries.
Well, obviously it'll be a Josh McCougar match.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be hilarious when he wiped his ass with the belt and got punished for it. I mean, it's awesome.
Classic.
It's hilarious. So he's my favorite personality.
Yes, excellent choice. Excellent.
Who would you say yours is?
While I very much agree, and it feels weird to not say Josh or Ken.
Maybe they'll shout out to Josh and Ken Napzok.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, Ken Napzok appreciation.
Love Josh and Ken. But the only reason I won't pick one of the two of them is because I wish I could see them in the Schmoedown more.
Yeah,
I know that Ken's in it more than Josh because he's been a manager, and hopefully he'll be more involved
now because
this year being in the draft.
Well, also of certain tournament events, he might be involved even more with SEN and the Schmoedown now.
Yes, awkward. But I think that my pick is probably Tom Dagnino.
Oh, can I change my answer?
Right?
I forgot.
No, Josh is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think my pick is Tom Dagnino because I was, again, marinating on this before when Andrew told me what he was going to ask. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head who's out there and whatever. And I'm not going to lie, I went online and I was trying to look up because I'm players. Like, there might be somebody that's just escaping me right now.
Yeah.
And, I've had a couple fucking White Claws. Who knows what's happening in this break?
So late Saturday night, ladies and gentlemen. Late Saturday night.
So I just kind of was looking up players and whatever. And then I saw a picture of Dagnino. I'm like, oh.
How could it not be Dagnino?
How could it not? How could it not be him? I can't even believe that he wasn't the first one I thought of. But yeah, Dagnino, he's just, even though he hasn't really had a large competing career.
He's the best manager.
He's the best manager as far as I'm concerned. I know in another episode we're going to talk, our picks for the awards, which actually that will come out before this episode. So
we already recorded it. Oh boy,
hurting my brain over here. But he's manager of the year. But whatever.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Dagnino, his brand of humor might not land with everybody because he's just kind of, I don't want to say out there, but it's just a very unique brand of humor.
It's a unique brand of humor, and it hits you every time.
Yeah, and I feel like there are probably people out there that be like, "This guy's fucking dumb. He's not funny. What's happening?"
Give him an hour. Give him an hour. You'll love him.
But I dig it. Like his humor is right on point for me. And I remember when we first met him in Chicago. I think we had talked about it, and we talked about it afterward, but we were chatting with him or whatever. And then afterward we were talking about it and going, oh my God, I cannot believe that you watch him on the Schmoedown and he talks the way he talks. And you think, oh, well, that's just a Schmoedown. That's his character. When you talk to him outside, he's just going to be like a normal person. But then
quote unquote normal.
You hang out with him outside of the Schmoedown. It doesn't fucking stop. That's Tom Dagnino.
That's Dagnino. So yeah, if anybody listening, like, oh man, I wonder what these guys are behind the scenes.
Tom's just so chill and whatever. Well, I mean, he is chill.
He's very chill, but
like, I bet it's just an acting person. No. Yeah. That's Tom Tom Bobby Gucci Finstock Dagnino.
That's Tom, man. It's so funny.
I mean, he's got Dagnino tattooed across his back.
We were talking about after the Chicago event. We were talking outside with him and Rachel Silvestrini.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was him and Rachel Silvestrini and a couple other people after the Chicago match. And Rachel was talking about like cooking or whatever. And
do you remember what his girlfriend's name is? I can't remember.
I don't, and I feel like an asshole. I wish you hadn't asked.
We'll probably see her in LA.
She was super sweet though. I really liked her.
She's cool.
But we were all just kind of chatting, and I think Rachel was talking about recipes, and her mom was cooking something, or I don't know. And like Tom was talking about how he's like, I might not be much of a cook, but make a mean mac and cheese. And I was like,
that's a great impression.
I was like, all right, well, what's in it? He's like, don't worry about it. Like, all right.
All right, man.
I mean, it probably sounds like a really underwhelming story, but it was really funny.
A lot of his stuff, it's like you had to be there. It's a lot of you had to be there.
His delivery is just chef's kiss. It's just too good. Oh my God. Yeah. Yes, he's probably my all-time. If you got Gucci and something in the Schmoedown, I mean, I'm gonna watch everything Schmoedown, but if Gucci's in it, it's gonna be great.
That's,
so he'd be
Gucci's
favorite.
kind of the one, like, I don't think you would show people that aren't into. You'd have to like pick your crowd.
No,
with him.
you'd have to warm them up first and then show them.
That's why I think Josh, cause it's like you show anything with Josh and he's
just a fun-loving, happy, jolly dude,
and he's so cool to hang out with. We hung out with him in Chicago. Him and wow, I had another stroke. Ken. Wow.
Okay?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, we hung out with him and Ken at the bar and Ellis. We don't have a lot of people in Chicago.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was awesome.
Oh man, so good.
Yeah, man, there's such a good crowd. That's one thing about the Schmoedown community overall. It's such a welcoming, like, bunch of people.
It really is.
Yeah,
I love this community.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's great. So moving on, we're gonna go. Let's go ahead and talk about. We said favorite player Roca Bateman, favorite personality Makuga Dagnino. Let's go with favorite heel. And I think we both have the same answer.
I think we both agree on this. You ready? 1, 2, 3.
Andrew Guy. Is there anybody that's been a better heel in the history of the Schmoedown? I mean, Roca was the first like true heel.
Yeah, it could be argued. I'm sure there are people that would say Roca.
Kalinowski has a good one, but like, there's nobody better than
really,
Andrew Guy.
No, like Kalinowski, don't get me wrong, Kalinowski's been great.
Oh, he's great in the cutscenes too.
Oh my God, he's so good.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Just pure, just like, and like, I there's another thing that I wish the Schmoedown would be, not kid friendly.
Yeah.
I understand why, and, it broadens your audience, and, parents watch it with their kids, and,
I do miss
fucking Harloff's kid watches, and she's only 8 years old, 9 years old. I don't know. It's in that range, but like, you can't be swearing all over the place, and there's gonna be punishments for that in the next season, but like, Andrew Guy's so good when he's like untapped,
like
unfiltered.
I said, he's just clipping his wings.
So
he's just so beautiful when you let him fly.
I mean, we don't even really have to say any more than like, Andrew Guy is the best heel ever.
I mean, he's the best heel ever. If I'm not mistaken, I feel like he's the first one to introduce like a physical confrontation.
Yes.
Into the Schmoedown.
Yeah. Well, he quote unquote he introduced it.
He did. It's real to me. There was a real table, and it was real.
Did you hear the after story of that?
No.
So like that was planned. I can't remember what was going to be the other way, but they obviously planned it ahead, and then like they told Roca about it, but Roca forgot that guy was going to tackle him.
I did not know that.
They were telling us on backstage when Bateman was on, and they're like, Roca.
Was this the most recent one? Or was this a different?
No,
backstage?
this was a couple weeks ago.
Backstage, it's hard for me to catch that live, at least because it happens on my drive home from work. But whatever, go on.
But he was saying like, we all went through the things. If this happens, that happens. If you guys win, this will happen. If and obviously team action loses and Guy tackles Roca, but Roca forgot completely.
My God, I didn't know
that Guy was gonna tackle him. So I'm like, wow, that's hilarious.
That's funny because I remember watching it and being like, oh, okay, Roca's preparing himself. I guess not. Damn.
And you watch it over, he does look surprised, like, oh shit, and like he doesn't try to break his fall or anything. That like looked legit, and it paid off for the story because it looked really legit, like he tackled him. Because when you watch the Bateman get tackled into the table, you can see him sort of breaking his fall.
Yes.
When you watch the Roca tackle, it's like, oh shit, is he okay?
Yeah. But speaking of the Bateman tackle into the table, looking back now, I feel bad watching it because I'm just like, oh my God, is his back okay?
Well, that was like a year before he had back surgery.
Well, I mean, if you have back problems, I imagine they just don't all of a sudden one day.
That's true.
I could need back surgery today.
Yeah, that's true too. But
I mean, it's not like they forced him to do it. I'm sure if he couldn't do it, he wouldn't have done it. But I'm still just like, oh God, his poor little baby back.
But Guy's so good with the trash talk too. Like
he is.
Even when he breaks character, quote unquote, during the matches, and he he starts like playing fun with other competitors, and like you can see like, oh, that's he's playing a character. Yeah. Even then, it's still like
I have a favorite moment just like that
Which
you're talking
one?
about. My favorite, I mean, I guess you could say character break moment with Andrew Guy is, I don't remember exactly. I mean, was it Team Action? I don't know if it was Team Action or The Family, but it was a match involving, this is how shit I am at remembering things like this.
Which one?
It involved Guy and Roca. And they were both sitting next to each other at that point in the match.
Yeah.
And somebody made a joke. Roca made a joke about, do you remember what it was? Roca
About
made a
him
joke.
being his father?
Yeah, about him being his father.
This is Team Action versus Top 10, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is top 10 versus
I think he was talking about like his time in the military and like he might have had a baby with somebody and it might have been Andrew. And oh my God.
And Roca says like, he's Latino or something like that,
And
even though he's
Andrew-
not Latino.
He just had this, yeah, right. And then Andrew just had this little like fucking giggle that he did, and I was like, "Oh my God, that was great."
Yeah.
That's probably one of my favorite like break moments, I guess you could say.
It's so funny.
But yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about forever, but I don't think we don't have to talk anymore. But I think everybody would
He's
agree with
just
us.
the best.
He's the best at it.
He's the goat of heels.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's a terrific transition.
Oh,
terrific
wow.
segue,
Good
because
job,
I think the end topic of this podcast will be, who is your GOAT of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown?
My goat. I think that
Greatest
I
of
think
all
we
time.
both have the same answer.
Really? Are you sure?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Rachel
Cushing. Yeah, I think so.
So go ahead and say why you think.
Okay,
Right,
so
Rachel, you have notes on this, so maybe I
do
should go
have-
first.
I do have notes.
Well, let's just talk about it, because
We'll just talk about it. I'm not
Yeah.
Frankie. I don't need to talk numbers. I don't fucking know numbers, okay? I don't
and
do
like
math.
no disrespect to Dan Murrell, but no, depending on how Murrell does this season in Inner Geekdom, if he goes for a title shot, he might sway me. But if he wins the IG title, he will then become my greatest of all time.
Spicy. Okay.
But for right now, Rachel is my GOAT. Simply the fact that it's hard enough to compete in 3 divisions at once, but to go for a title shot in singles and hold the IG and teams belt at the same time.
Yeah.
That's hard to argue, because that's something Merle hasn't even done. He hasn't he's won the singles title and the team title, but he hasn't held 2 titles at once
the same time.
At the same time. The sole purpose, the sole reason why Rachel's my GOAT is because she held 2 titles at once and competed for a title against Sam in singles. So it's like, it's very hard to do.
That would be my reasoning too, because it's 4 divisions. She competed in 3,
And
held a belt in 2 at the same time, and
went for a title.
almost was a contender for the
singles.
The singles.
And I honestly think she could have gone on a run for Star Wars if she really went for it.
Yeah, I know she says she couldn't, but I think she could have.
I think she could. I really think she could have.
Maybe not now because she's retired and whatever. She's
Yeah.
probably out of studying shape. But, when she was at her prime, I feel like she could have put up a fight.
Oh, yeah. She could have gotten to again, and Star Wars is such a unique thing that like her debut match could have been a number 1 contender match.
Yeah.
So.
No, but I would have the same argument because it's insane to compete. I mean, I feel like when you are like, say, a singles competitor and you're like, I'm a Dan Murrell. If you're a Dan Murrell and you're like, let me go into Inner Geekdom. That I feel is like, oh boy, you're kind of spreading yourself, not thin, but like, wow, you're really kind of stressing yourself here because it's just a whole different mind frame. I don't know. Do you agree that it's the same? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To stretch your brain to compete in Inner Geekdom and singles. Do you think that it's the same element of stretching your brain competing in singles and teams at the same time?
No, because
Agreed.
because singles and teams it's basically the same thing. You just now have a team. It's different strategy wise.
Okay,
Because now you have to think of what is my, especially in like the 3rd round. You have to think strategically, like not that there's a weaker player on a team, but like if like
have different strengths.
Yeah, if you have different strengths, and if you feel like you're behind and you want to like the 2-point won't kill you, but if you miss a 2-point, it won't hurt you as much. So you give that point to the weaker player, quote unquote weaker player.
Quote, yeah.
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 So teams, it matters strategy wise.
Yes.
But study wise, it's the same pool of questions basically.
Yes. And so that's why I just find it to be so impressive when somebody like Rachel, since she's our GOAT. That's why I think it's so impressive when somebody can compete in singles, which I think is fucking insane by itself. I don't know how I don't understand how you've seen that many movies and retain that many movies.
Yeah.
I've seen some movies. I've seen maybe, I don't know, 10% of the movies those people have seen, and I barely remember that 10%. But to compete in singles and teams is one thing. To, extend yourself in it, inner geekdom is another thing.
Yeah.
And she did it with flying colors.
She didn't do it in reverse. Never mind.
No, I think she got the team title first.
I'm talking about like competing wise. So she debuted in teams.
Oh, with Ken.
I think she went to singles next and then jumped into Inner Geekdom. I could be wrong.
I don't know, because in the Schmoedown Wikipedia, it said that she considered Inner Geekdom her home.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
She's incredibly great at it. She's incredible at it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why. And I think she says it's her home because she feels more comfortable with those categories. But like on that note of like, spreading yourself across 3 divisions, jumping into like, you can jump from singles to teams or teams to singles and like you not really feel a difference in study wise. Studying for Inner Geekdom is a different beast in itself because the questions get deeper a bit more, and you have to take deeper notes on movies. You can't just watch the movie like, oh yeah, that actor is in there, and like narrow things down that way. You actually have to commit yourself to sit down and like pick out random things in the movies because those oddball questions will come out. Mm-hmm. So. And
also the fact that she, not only was she a belt holder, she also, if I'm not mistaken, she and Clark as the Shire Wolves defended the team's title twice. Mm-hmm. First against
Who's the Boss?
Who's the Boss, and then against Bibiani and Seibold. Critically acclaimed. Yeah. Then they lost the belt to the Odd Couple, and then they
immediately got it back. That was a very short-lived championship run.
Very, very short-lived.
Yeah, I think is it true that the first team to lose it and win it back in the
I think it did say something about that. Yeah. The first team to
lose it and then win it back.
back.
Yeah, in the same season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact that they defended it twice and
would you say Shire Wolves is your favorite team of all time? Because Clark is another one of those. Clark was one of those players that I considered for my greatest of all time. But it's like she only played in singles and teams, and like as far as we go, like criteria wise, if there has to be a criteria, I think just the mere fact of like somebody like Kalinowski and Rachel compete in 3 divisions, it's like you can't really compare that. I mean, obviously Levine's in that question, but again, it's only teams and singles.
Yeah, not that you can't be considered a legend or great if you don't compete in Inner Geekdom too, but it's just that much more impressive, and it's just that gives the edge. Let me ask you this.
Better team, Shire Wolves or Patriots?
Well, I mean, my heart goes to Shire Wolves, so I guess I'll say Shire Wolves.
And it's a fair argument because I would say Shire Wolves, but again, you can't ignore that run to the Patriots run. But the Schmoedown was different back then. There wasn't as many great teams.
Yeah, and not to tarnish the run that the Patriots went on.
You can't.
It's true.
Yeah, much like the Patriots of real, their division was terrible. But come on, that division's. I mean, the Bills are as we speak.
The Bills aren't even a fucking team. Like, are you kidding me? Is it 93? Like, what the hell?
I'm sorry, I'm going on a football.
The Bills are not even a real team.
Going on a football tangent, but the Patriots division is
like the Browns.
Historically bad.
They're not even a real team.
But anyway, the Patriots, when they competed, there wasn't teams like Who's the Boss. Critically acclaimed. Well, critically acclaimed was there, but there's Shazam. There's so many great teams when the Shire Wolves were champions. Mm-hmm. When you compare the teams to who the Patriots are going up against, and I can't reach in my data bank right now and pick out teams from that era, but it's like there's no real comparison to me, I think. But again, you can't like just defending it 6 times, holding the belt for a year. The only belt holder to hold a belt longer than the Patriots is Alex Damon in the Star Wars division, and it's a completely other
different beast of a division,
different conversation. But Rachel is both our GOAT.
Yeah, it's hard to.
Yeah, again, it depending on how Merle does this season, if he goes on and wins, he could lose his singles title, not go for this. He can lose his team's title, not really compete for the singles title, and win the IG. And Merle's the best. That's my GOAT now. the best to do it. So
Interesting.
just because the thing that Rachel has on him right now is the 2 consecutive belts and the competing in all 3 and for a title.
Yeah.
So that's really the reason why that Rachel is the best to do it, I think.
And going back to when you talked about Kalinowski being another one that also competed in singles teams and
his singles record isn't great. Yeah.
I mean, he wins some, lose some.
Yeah.
But I would love to see, and I think Kalinowski right now is the only real shot that we have at this. I would love to see somebody finally compete in all 4 divisions. Like, just kind of be like, let me dip my toes in the Star Wars.
He told us that he was interested in it.
He did. But I don't know how serious he is about it because that's really spreading yourself thin.
Especially right now, because I think he's taking a bit of a break. I think Christian said that he's like...
He was tired. You could see it on him.
And that's why I think, because Merle said on backstage, like, somebody asked him in a question on backstage, and he said, are we going to see Merle in the singles division? And he's like, short answer, yes. Oh. And I'm like, you're going to... But he said, like, I don't know when he's going to jump back. So he's right now, his true focus right now is defending the team's title and jumping into Geekdom. He said maybe around the tournament time, like second half of the season, he might jump back into singles. But even then, man, if you're going to be a multi-cross like division competitor, and we're going to see a lot of that this season, stick to 2 divisions.
Yeah, but my argument to that would be, first of all, it's Dan Merle. And second of all, it's like you said, it's the same pool of studying as teams. And I'm talking out of my ass right now, and I'm fully aware of that.
Yeah.
But I feel like if his muscles are already loose from competing in teams, and it's kind of basically the same knowledge base. Yeah. I feel like a Dan Merle, someone like Dan Merle could be like, I guess I'll do singles today, and he'll do just fine.
But then again, my counter argument to that is look what happened to Rachel. She got burnt out because it's not the fact of just committing the studying.
Not the fact that you just can do it, but should you?
It's just a matter. It's a matter of stamina, mental stamina. Like how many times you compete in like week after week after week after week after week, and then you have to jump back and forth because like jumping back and forth between teams and singles is a little easier, but like jumping back and forth between Inner Geekdom and singles, your mind has to switch.
It's mental gymnastics.
You gotta I gotta like make sure like I'm thinking differently for Inner Geekdom than teams and singles. So that's what I think. I think just Merle to stick to 2 divisions, and if like say like you jump into Inner Geekdom and like it just wasn't what you thought it was gonna be, and like you're not performing as well. It's like, all right, that was a fun little venture. Let's focus. Let's re-steer our focus, and this is when I go back to singles and just go back to where I dominate.
Yeah.
So. I mean, there's so many factors that come into just doing that, and I would love to see somebody from Inner Geekdom or singles jump into Star Wars, because I think right now our best bet at that,
Kalinowski, Smets,
or Roka, because Roka said on backstage that he really wants to jump into Star Wars,
maybe
and Roka, Riley's another one of those.
Maybe,
but again, Riley's a little hot and cold right now.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see how he does in the season. But like Roka, I love you, man. But like, again, you're my favorite player. But I don't.
It's different than when because he did he ever compete in never. He's never competed in Star Wars.
He hasn't even competed in Inner Geekdom. I say like, just because he said, oh yeah, I can watch those movies and take notes. It's like, it takes so much more than just watching the movies and taking notes.
And it feels weird to be saying that about a veteran.
I know.
Like him.
Like I'm not like talking down to him, but just as somebody in the division and somebody that's lost twice in 2 close matches in the division, you have to commit more than just watching and taking notes. Because if you watch, there are those questions like, oh yeah, have you watched the fucking movie?
Yeah.
But then there are all those weird questions like Airvana.
12th movie.
12th movie out was in the line, but there's like the name of
extra
research questions like names of ships, names of troopers, names of characters that don't ever their name mentioned on screen.
Yeah,
like Jedi Knights, freaking
like Cloud Riders. I don't think they ever said Cloud Riders.
They never said Cloud Riders in the movies. Aegon Kohler, Stacey Teen, just Jedi Knights like that. They've never said their names ever in a movie, and you have to just dive in and like, hey, that guy looks fun. What's his name?
Yeah.
He might be a question. Just things like that. Danger is another one. Like even Alex and Strimshaw didn't know Danger. So there's just things like that you got to pay attention to. So if Rocha is serious about jumping into Star Wars, he has to keep that in mind.
It just takes a.
It takes a lot. It takes a lot more study.
I feel like such a dick saying this.
So Star Wars is that beast in the Schmoedown that strategy matters the least. Strategy. It's almost
one division,
it's almost like strategy is. You might as well just throw strategy out the window and just basically try to know everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and if anything, if two competitors prove that, it's Alex obviously, and Laura's another one that like your knowledge will take you to a championship run. So.
Well, because you watch Star Wars matches. Whoa, Star Wars matches, and it's like people miss one question in the whole
and that's
match.
the game.
So it's not like there's much strategy of like, oh, I'm gonna challenge, I'm gonna steal because people aren't fucking missing. So it's mainly just
knowledge.
You just gotta hope that you know the thing that they don't know today. Unfortunately, but
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it. I mean, it's a shorter episode for this week because again I don't know. Well, 45 minutes.
Okay.
It feels longer. Yeah, I know. I want to keep this episode to 30 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
I should stop saying that.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I think that's gonna about do it. We're gonna wrap it up here on this latest episode of Beyond the Schmoedown. So, Nicki Dimalanta, where can they find you online?
I send tweets on Twitter with the name @Dimmy DIMMMYYY.
So follow her on Twitter. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram @DrewDimalanta, DIMALANTA. Also on YouTube. If you're listening to this on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. You can follow us on YouTube just by visiting videosbyandrew.com. And great news, we probably might have announced this last episode, but we have a Patreon now. If you want to support us and get us, help us produce this show and all the other stuff that we're trying to do. Got great plans. We just, budget is one of those things. We're trying to raise a kid here. We need money for diapers.
God.
But you can follow. You can become a member of the squadron. That's what we're calling our fellow patrons. So become a member of the squadron by going to patreon.com/videos. No, God, try that again. Patreon.com/Andrew and Nikki. So until next time, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Beyond the Schmoedown, and we'll see you
next time.
See you later, guys.